Happy Halloween! It's time to close out the spooky season by taking a crack at some true horror. Low-hanging fruit and low-effort art. Now, admittedly, I've been on the fence on whether I should give this rotting anti-veggie tale any more attention, as they thrive on it and their sheer existence makes for easy content. But, it. I've already been in the spooky spirit over on my Patreon, where I will have eventually clocked in a cumulative 30-plus hour Let's Read of Midnight Sun. And after all those copious amounts of seemingly endless internal monologues from my former Sparkle Pyre overlord, which I still somewhat enjoyed, mind you, I sure could go for something, short. So, today, I take my turn up on the home plate to take a whack at He Who Shall Not Be Named with Reaper's Creek. And I know what you're thinking. Wowzers! When did Voldemort ever find the time to crank out a book in between his wizard supremacy conquest? Listen, this isn't the first time a fascist warlord cranked out their word garbage to the unwilling masses, all the while committing heinous crimes against humanity. Lord knows it certainly won't be the last. But first, a disclaimer. If you're here for a critical deep dive dissection, let me just point you in the direction of Crimson Rogues and Strange Aeons videos. This homie ain't here for that today, or tonight, or morning. I'm here to simply assume the role of the quality shittertainer. 2 points, laugh, drink. I sure did the first time I recorded this, and boy, by the end of it, I was just dying. So this is the sober round, where it'll hopefully be shorter and not as much of a slog to listen to. But we're gonna have a gay old time all the same. So, while I'm doing this, I will also be holding all of you lovelies hostage with me. Guys, let me just say, this year has been one terrible acid trip on a global scale. And I would like to try and find some joy in another kind of awful. That's how mitigation works, right? Yeah. Look, it was either this one or Anti-Veggie Chan's mysterious fourth book, which I haven't found a way to acquire. But if that fourth book is, as Krim claims, Veggie Poor Man's shit rendition of Scrody McBoogerballs, then oof. Hard pass. Speaking of ripping off South Park, because I sure as hell can do that too. The following program is brought to you in spooky vision. Be warned, all scenes will be accompanied by pictures of onions. Alrighty then. Let's dive into, drown into Reaper's Creek. Now, our tepid tale begins at the tail end, I tried to pull a punny funny, end of summer vacation in Washington State. Our heroic hero child, Greg? Daniel? Granule just got back from spending his summer in Ohio with his super Christian dad, and hey, guys! Did you know that Christianity is illogical and stupid? If you've been genetically spliced with a goldfish and can't retain facts for longer than 3 seconds, which is such a mood, don't worry. Granule, be sure to remind us of this undeniable truthiest of truths in this grand memoir of his, which I won't regurgitate because I don't care. See, Granule's daddy issues extend to the length of this introduction. Daddy is a pastor bum who never paid child support because ex-wives are gold-digging harpies who can't be trusted with money. Granule might as well be whinging to us. Why did you trust the baby mama who left you in the first place? Yes, you, I guess, being us, the reader. So, congrats, y'all and me. We are now Granule's collective father. I know I said I was going to be drinking, and I did the first go-around, but my God, just reading this again, it baffles me that, it can get this meta this early. But okay, I mean, if we're gonna go there, let's just appreciate how we sure as hell dodged a bullet with Granule's mom if this was our child. I mean, I know I ain't crying any crocodile tears over her. And luckily, neither is she. See, Mama's got a new man now. This stepfather, who's regarded only as Papa, 'cause we're the only daddies around these here parts. And Granule also has a sister who only exists to call Granule a dork. So her name is Kevin now. But don't worry about those guys. No. They're just cardboard cutout window dressings. See? No. Meaningless. Let's get back to our broken condom. Now, Granule lies on his diseased-laden bed that's strung up by chains in the laundry room, fully embracing the if I fits, I sits principle, and he reminisces over this mysteriously cute Latina girl who existed for a few sentences. By golly, she sure was cute and existed. But enough about all that too. No. Let's go outside now and play, like what children do. Granule cartwheels through the brush and bramble of the woods in his backyard to chillax at the most favorite spot this gangly 11-year-old could possibly have. A giant tree that's on a swing. Our unsupervised and possibly unvaccinated child swings on the rope with careless abandon. And I thank my lucky stars that he's not on my insurance plan right now, assuming we all have one, as he mysteriously has this weird episode, vision or whatever, blacks out and I guess just flings off into space. But he wakes up sometime later, having seen visions of his school bully, Philip. There's also some blood on his stomach, and gee, that's pretty weird. So he cartwheels back home to clean it up and then play video games till his mom, the unworthy gold-digging harpy, returns home from work. And when she does, she's all like, "How these kids be doing?" And Papa's all like, "Hell, they're alive." And the mom's all, "Frowny face, this lack of supervision displeases me." And she leaves the kids to get their own damn dinner as she locks herself in her room for the night. And she's got primary custody in a 900 square foot shack full of tetanus. But hey, I mean, better that than Ohio and Jesus suburbia? Later that evening, Granule and Kevin go hang out at their Uncle Matt's place. See, the village they live in is but nowhere, Washington, and comprises mostly of their familial clan. Basically, we're looking at some kind of deliverance in the Pacific Northwest. So, Granule, a 30-something-year-old inhabiting a prepubescent meat suit, unleashes his first bout of bountiful 11-year-old wisdom on the follies of his addict-ridden relatives. All that, drugs are bad, okay? Granule knowingly enters the equivalent of an Irish pub on, any given night or day, knowing full well that he'll be uncomfortable. And guess what? His relatives offend him. Surprise Pikachu face. So he storms back home all in a huff. And that's the end of that. But that night, Granule dreams of the void. And in that void he stares so deeply into? Stick bugs. Stick bugs everywhere. Alien stick bugs that absolutely serve Granule with their 6 stick bug moves. One of them boops Granule and he's all like... So the next day, it's time to go to school. Whoa! At the school bus, Granule's intrusive thoughts bulldoze the 4th wall that's been keeping us safe from paying that child support. But you know how it's gotta be. Truck Coon will strike when Truck Coon strikes. But don't worry though, don't worry. This little oopsie daisy only happens once because it's 2020 and nothing matters. Okay, so skip to recess now because no one will be having an education this year. Mood. Granule's on another set of swings. He looks at the birds while he's going back and forth, and he fails to animorph into one of the little bastards and almost bashes his head in. We then meet his BFF David, not to be confused with Davis from that other book from Rotten Produce Chan. But make no mistake, they are the same character. Which, okay, let me take a brief moment, a little aside. I will set my cup of water down even, and make some bullshit inferences. Alright, so, Roddy Toddy's books are all in some way autobiographical. I'm only counting the first 3, at least. He can only write what he perceives to know. He's only had one friend who, if I recall correctly, died. So said friend can only live on as a glorified memory, one which can't leave and betray you, like what every sensible person has ever done in his life. See, spoiler alert, but this story and protagonist is yet another self-insert power fantasy, but cranked up to a spicy 1100. For comparison's sake, if Handbook for Mortals of Sherry is a culmination of one woman's slow, festering bitterness over her own insecurities, then Granule is the result of a similar bitterness, but then just fucking face-planting into a combo pile of cocaine and other hallucinogens, yet still somehow lacking a sense of imagination to depict the following drug trip. Hence, all the alcohol I needed that first go-around. Otherwise, this would be yet another boring pile of word vomit, and I'd just be wasting my time. A microcosm of this entire year, if you will. Anyway, recess is over. The kids go back to class, and the teacher's all like, hey, yeah, so I know it's the first day and all, but, like, I really don't want to actually follow my lesson plan for today. So, like, here's a video about some fucking dinosaurs! It turns out, though, the video's some conspiracy theory human-dinosaur fusion bullshit. What? But Granule sees the stick bugs in the video somehow. I don't know how they're related to human-dinosaur fusion, but okay. And he's still, like, very shooketh. He runs out of his classroom into the office and then whines till his mom takes his ass home. Granule whinges some more and the stick bugs haunt his dreams again that night. ... So 4 months later. Oh, this is just as ridiculous the second time around, Jesus. On one day, any day, someday, within this 4-month future, Philip, the bully mentioned at the very beginning that we all already forgot about, approaches. He tries to get a rise out of Granule, but it's ineffective because petty baby words mean nothing to a 30-year-old living in his boyish young vessel. Granule tries to strike it up with unimportant pretty girl instead. See, he suddenly remembered that girls give him the tinglies when he saw David get way too horny on Maine on Kevin's friend during a sleepover that night prior. It was fucking gross. Philip is enraged that no one's giving him attention. He throws a tantrum and is promptly dragged away stage right. And with a studious look, Granule, in all his all-knowing, totally not an adult wisdom, concludes that Philip must be having problems at home and is totally lashing out. You know, like all 11-year-olds just happen to know. Certainly not the inside of a 30-year-old poltergeist infiltrating a humanoid people vessel. Philip tries again some other day when Granule suddenly develops a hero complex for a stereotypical shady outcast, and Philip fails again at getting that sweet attention. Later that day, though, Granule and David frolic out in the woods, and unleash their totally not psychotic tendencies on dead animals.
It's only psycho if they're alive, you see?
They're about to go home for the day when, uh-oh, that's a dead body. Now, time can be a harsh bastard. You could find yourself sitting in silence one day, with only your looming existential crisis to keep you company, and only 5 minutes would have passed. However, try to maintain a sense of stability as the world around you spins into such a frenzy that at this point, having an eldritch abomination rise up from the depths of the San Andreas Fault is simply par for the course. Look at that there, though, buddy. You just lost 6 months. Oh, fuck. Man, this is definitely going to be one of my more timely videos that won't at all age poorly. Ugh. Good job, me. My point is, though, from here on, the flow of time becomes as blurry as my death perception was last night. For instance, Granule tells us that David becomes so traumatized by just one measly little human corpse that he avoids Granule altogether for weeks. Yet we jump to 10 days later, and then not long after another week, and then before we know it, spring break, and I could have sworn summer break comes and leaves. It happens so fast, I thought it was a legit fever dream within the narrative. But, I'm getting ahead of myself. Last thing I want to do is just recklessly skip ahead to all the genocide. That wouldn't be fun. We have to earn our way there. Thank you very much. So yes, it is 10 days later, and David has essentially noped out of his friendship with Granule. He seems fine with it, though, despite still getting owned by the stick bugs on a nightly basis, 'cause that hasn't stopped happening, but it's an easy thing to forget about here. After school, post 10 days later, he tries to hit it off with unimportant pretty girl again. Philip heckles Granule again. But this time, Granule's had enough and just beats the piss out of Philip. Because, of course, the Power Fantasy Avatar certainly knows how to throw hands. I could not possibly expect anything different. The two are separated, dragged to the principal's office, and bond there in their own way. And if you think this is the start of a beautiful friendship, oh god, I hate to break it to you, I really do, this pains me, but it's not. 'Cause Philip mysteriously dies some weeks later. God, why? Why? Not just why, how? Yes, how did he die? Well, some say it was a freak sledding accident. He just yeeted himself off into a river and I guess drowned or whatever. But was it really? Did that really happen? Or was it aliens? Who knows? Certainly not the narrative. But now it's a week later. David is talking to Granule again, and man, those stick bugs are still busting their sick moves in Granule's dreamscape. Look at them go. But on one particular night, during yet another crushing dance-off, Granule's finally fed up with his pathetic losing streak and fights back. And I said that in the loosest sense of the word. He just resists mildly. Yet it turns out that these instances aren't dreams at all, but it's his actual soul up in outer space, getting snoot-booped all over. Gross. His soul plummets back into his body, and he wakes up for another day at school. No fucking biggie. That kind of shit's just a Tuesday with enough illegal substances. We slip through a wormhole to some undisclosed day. Granule and David play kickball with each other. Granule peeks over and sees a stag, just a random stag, just coming in saying yo ho ho, with a red glow. And Granule's all like, whoa, that's a thing, and proceeds to I fuck said stag. But suddenly, he feels some cold metal smack against his head and passes out. Okay, I mean, you see the words cold metal smack against his head and perhaps think, well, like, shit, I guess something or someone just came up and whacked Granule out stone cold. And I wouldn't blame you. I certainly thought that too. But little do we naive fools know that smack against head actually means heart condition. I mean, you learn new things every day, huh? Granule remembers out of butt nowhere in the nurse's office that yeah, oh yeah, I've actually had this mysterious heart condition all my life, and I just pass out all the time. No biggie. It's normal. So his mom takes him home, and I swear to God, he is hardly ever at school. He's only at recess or home because something happens and his little whingy whiny ass just can't handle life. Snowflake. So Granule is home, and he just suddenly has this mighty need to explore all the glowy shit that he can now see out in the woods with his red glow power that I guess he got from them aliens. But before that, our 30-something-year-old prepubescent realizes that he, quote, should probably get some calories in his body for energy. Because that's, god damn it. One bag of marshmallows later, Granule's cartwheeling through the woods, again, which is now just fucking littered with dead animals. He somehow manages to find the stag from earlier, dying from something that's wiggling in its neck. The red glow fades when the stag passes, and Granule's like, neato. And he just cartwheels back home. So spring break. Granule spends... I told y'all. Granule spends a number of days doing nothing but binging on Final Fantasy VII, yet clocking in a whopping 24-hour playtime. 24 hours in 6 days. What a fucking noob. He is absolutely captivated by its beautiful imagery and hip young adults. Hip young adults. Then, one night, Granule's mom brings home a pregnant friend, and said friend has her red glowing tummy glowing red. Granule stuffs his foot in his mouth, and as you can probably imagine, it ends very awkwardly. 'Cause he doesn't know how to socialize. Alright, back to bed, that. And back to stick bug dance-offs. The little buggies get a little more touchy-proby, and Granule wakes up with his chest all bloody. The fam all rush off to the hospital. They wait for hours because the American healthcare system sucks balls, and they're not on our collective insurance plan. Because again, only in this fictional hellscape could we all possibly have health insurance to begin with. The doctor finally comes out to see them, takes one look, and he's like, yeah, this is totally some self-harm shit. Don't do that. Go away. So on the way home, they're then suddenly T-boned by some guy. Granule sees that the other person in the car that hit them is dead by this mysterious new cold air gift of his that I guess replaced the red glowy thing, but the cold air gift is automatically gone after this, so okay. He lodges his foot in his mouth yet again in an effort to talk like a kid who spouts out that they've been abducted by aliens. So, I mean, like OG Produce Chan. Some other night, Granule has some random existential crisis or whatever. He sasses his mom, who snaps a little bit and threatens to beat him for that back talk. Then, bam! Mom's eyeballs explode. Just 'cause. It just happens. But by the time the EMT arrives, they've magically regenerated, and Mom's grinning maniacally. It's all bourbon and sunshine and what have you. Like, I think it's safe to say that our ex-wife might be a little mentally unwell. Maybe. So, back at school, Granule's all pissy, and he sits by himself at lunch. He's approached by a special needs kid who reveals himself to be the snoot-booping stick bug, and Granule, actually pisses himself. Snoot Booper stalks Granule as a proper yandere would. We learn that the stick bugs can't abduct people's souls through metal roofs, so Granule's safe in school, because that has a metal roof. Unfortunately, though, his house has a wooden one, so that's why he's been screwed over. The solution? Get this. Aluminum foil pajama wrap and a kitchen pot worn as a helmet. And yet, it works. He just has an irrelevant sex dream that means nothing, but he's awoken very quickly by Snoot Booper just banging on his window outside, screaming for Granule to remove the foil for reasons. And Granule does, for reasons, and is then physically abducted by another group of aliens right in front of his gobsmackled family. You say, oh yeah, the souls can't pass through metal. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna protect myself with metal. And then Snoot Booper's like, remove the metal, it's important. And then when he does, his actual physical body is just abducted anyway. Okay, logic. This other group of aliens, I guess, tried to extract something. I'm not really sure, I am with all of this shit. But nevertheless, Granule wakes up the next morning in his bed, below the gaping hole in his ceiling. At school, you just get abducted by aliens. Tough shit, kid. Get your backpack. The bus will be here soon. Granule is confronted by Snoot Booper at the urinal in a random bathroom and is promptly knocked out cold. ... Summertime! What? Were you wondering what happened at the urinal? Well, fuck you. It's summer vacation now. Therefore, we're back in Ohio. And hey, remember that cute little Latina girl that was cute and existed back in the very beginning? Well, her name's Julia. She's 4 years older, yet 9 inches shorter than Granule. And she exists solely to be his adoring sex bot. That is all. Summer fun comes and goes, and it's not a book by Sweaty Fumes unless he tries to futilely convince us that he gets tail and knows how to deliver his meat surprise, and Jesus fuck, I'm just saying random words right now. Ugh. Summer now is over. Kevin and Granule are flying back to Washington. The flight attendant taunts Granule on why he, the 30-something 11-year-old, didn't knock Julie up, didn't implant his baby sperm in her bun oven bread stick. Even though he, again, totally an 11-year-old, really wanted to pork her with his meat sausage and shoot his vanilla surprise in her cooter. Why did I say that? Granule and I are both like, wait, what? Except Granule's hella shook about it, because how could this stranger possibly know my deepest perverted desires? All the while, there's some familiar chuckling up in first class. Don't worry, that's just a little foreshadowing. Nothing to see there. The plane lands, and as Granule's on his way to exit it, he spots Snoot Booper's smiling reflection in the first-class lavatory. This shooketh Granule again as he dashes out through the tarmac walkway, haunted by the sound of Snoot Booper's mocking laughter. But Granule finally reaches his breaking point and snaps. He zoomies back to the plane, snatches a nasty fork from the flight attendant's cart, and shanks poor Snoot Booper in the neck, very much ending that poor alien's life. Granule cheeses it. That night, though, his soul is abducted again. This time, an Agent Smith-looking alien or whatever tries to question Granule about the stick bugs, but Granule is so done. He taps into some kind of shonen bullshit powers and busts out of his restraints. In his ungodly, well, pre-godly wrath, Granule becomes Lord Explosion Murder and commences only his first rage-filled death spree. He somehow learns that Snoot Booper was actually an ally. Whoopsies? And this ally Snoot Booper has been removing whatever other aliens have been putting into him. Like, back at the urinal, remember? Because I was surprised that the narrative did. Well, there's this, like, funky black rock in Granule's head, and that black rock is actually going to be the only important thing in this sorry excuse of a book. So, like, apologies on that spoiler in particular. At the end of Granule's rage spree, he conjures some kind of implosion bomb to finish off the aliens, and he's like, cool, I'm good now. And then his soul plummets back into his body and wakes up the next morning. ... 3 years later. Like I said, time is a bastard and we're all just along for the ride, baby. Granule has kicked the very concept of power creep in the singular nut and has just catapulted into being an overpowered god. He can now influence people where their feelings are putty in his hands. He's got Julia at his beck and call. She just so happens to coincidentally phone him when he feels like talking to her, and she then happens to leave him alone when he's preoccupied. The perfect female. And having maxed out all of his stats, Granule has become ever so bored. A D-grade Saitama, if you will. So, Granule's starting high school now. Cool. At PE, one day, he notices that aliens have infiltrated the student body, and Granule's like, nope, This is an alien-free zone. I will not have you target me again. Therefore, I must game end you all. And he does. So he game ends this one particular alien first, and everyone in the gymnasium is just like, oh my god, he dead. Oh my god, he melting. What? And during this commotion, Granule mentally detects the spaceship of these new aliens, and he very calmly lies down in a corner to astral project his soul into orbit. Boy's in no rush, don't worry. He's omniscient enough to know exactly how much time he has to bring about his second massacre before his next class. But it turns out this ship is filled with non-hostiles, one of which Granule shamelessly executed moments prior. So, whoopsies again? God, this kid is so impulsive. And yet, though, another group of aliens? God, I have lost count how many alien factions are in this book. I really don't know. One group just comes right up after the next, man. Okay, so new group are hostiles, and they vaporize this ship full of innocent aliens. And that's justification for Granule to go all sicko mode for Murder Spree 2.0. Alas, though, the sight of galactic carnage doesn't give Granule the inkliest of chubs, so he returns to his body to resume average school life. And since Granule is a 30-something-year-old inhabiting a now 14-year-old, he can use puberty as an excuse to become actual D-grade Holden Saitama Caulfield, because that's what we need. More pretentious bitchiness. See, at some point within the past 3 years, Granule's, again, like I've mentioned earlier, he's controlled the feelings of those around him, and then he's made them adore him. But now, he's spontaneously become just bored with all that phoniness, so he cancels it all out and is now invisible to the world. Even David's like, yeah, dude, I haven't liked you since elementary school. Bye. and pieces out for realsies. I mean, when the source of that rose-colored memory ceases to exist past a certain point, so does the character it represents. So yeah, shit's become more dour in Granule's life, as his mom has even distanced herself. Turns out that the eye-splosion incident really did affect Mom more than she let on. She also lets Papa, as surprise, turns out he was an alcoholic abuser this whole time. On top of that, there was actually another sister that's existed this entire time, and she's only just now being mentioned? Oh, the things we fail to notice through the perspective of a child. But before the narrative has the chance to totally swerve into F-grade Oyasumi Poon Poon territory, Granule remembers that he still has his old reliable pleasure bot to make his fifis all tingly again. So he calls Julia, who beckons him over. Then he ditches his fam and flies over from Washington to Ohio in exactly 15 minutes, and just so happens to catch Julia sitting around in her towel. I'm sure she was just having a round of League in the nude, as one does. Granule, metaphorically, inserts his quarters so he has enough credits to play all the rounds of whack-a he could possibly want. And then during a pillow talk cooldown period, out of nowhere, a fucking spontaneous bullet zooms in through Granule's neck and straight into Julia's forehead. RIP. Except not quite. So now, there's this assassin in his black and red polka dot suit. He was, and I quote, hired a person who is hired another person who was sent to employ an assassin such as him. Granule snaps yet again. It's time for punishment. He zawardos, astral projects, locates other aliens infiltrating humans, all just living out their innocent lives, and commences Murder Spree 3.0. Kid out having some ice cream with their mom? Bam. Businessman surprising his wife with chocolates and flowers? Gone. Exhausted university student trying to chill out in the bath? Adios. This actual genocide would have taken exactly 17 hours 47 minutes if Granule's Zawarudo weren't in effect. Fortunately for the assassin, however, Granule's only willing to murder-kill non-humans. At the moment. So, he just ditches the assassin at some swamp and cheeses it back to Julia, whose soul has just been, hanging out near her body, thinking I guess I'm going to heaven now, maybe? Except Granule zoomies in and slam dunks that bitch back together, and then I guess they resume their nightly activities. Though now, Granule devolves even further into D-grade light Saitama Caulfield, proclaiming to Julia that he can use his god powers to cure all illnesses people have. He'll reprogram the code of the world and fix everything. Mental illness? Bam. Physical illness? Bam. Anything that's neurally atypical? Bam. Everyone's neurotypical now. And he does this? Okay, so now Granule's nihilistic ass is just on top of the world. He has everything. That's made him pretty fucking jaded, or more jaded, and that's also pretty fucking boring, cause where could we possibly go from here? Well, did you know that Julia's been away from home for some undisclosed amount of time, and that she has parents who've been worried? Well, Granule takes Julia home and has dinner with the folks. Everything seems jovial enough. The dad jokes to Granule about how Granule coded in a vaginal teeth mod into women during his Fix It All campaign. You know, instead of just making it so that people don't feel compelled to do sexual assault. Nah, son. Vaginal chompers. God, I'm letting that one sink in. So yeah, shit seemingly dandy until Granule stuffs the proverbial foot in his mouth. again, and makes everything awkward again. You know, this time though, his foot being some weird ass all-seeing eye Illuminati bullshit, and the mouth being killing his girlfriend's father. It turns out that the dad's an evil predator who's done a lot of bad shit, because genuinely good fathers just cannot exist in this guy's world that he's projecting onto all of us unwilling masses. In that instance that Granule learns these things, he judges, juries, and executes the dad, whose face plants into his bowl of noodles. Julia and her mom rightly freak out. But don't worry, guys. Granule isn't a total heartless sociopath. He telepathically shows Julia the horrible visions he saw to make her understand that his decision was just. And of course, she does understand this. She really does. However, losing the main breadwinner's tough. Not to mention, there are now funeral arrangements to worry about. And in this economy, who can really afford one? I can't even afford health insurance. Come on. So, out of the goodness of Granule's heart, he blips in a coffin that's already full of money and then just pieces out. He's like, I'm done here. I can't even handle this emotion. Does not compute. Bye. Because it's all about his fifis here. He flies back to his childhood home, the one filled with disease, grime, and at this point probably alien spaceship radiation. Granule wills the property to belong to him now because it's been up for sale, but now it's his, and don't worry about it. And then he just goes to bed. Okay, well, that was a weird diversion, but surely you must be asking, can we divert even weirder and harder? Oh yes, we most certainly can. The next day, Granule cartwheels around the woods, reliving his innocent childhood days of finding dead bodies. He even clips through the geometry at some point, and he senses a whole bunch of human corpses that are all women. Surprise! And he learns that they were all viciously killed by Gary. Upon knowing this BK whopper of a revelation, Granule rises up from the earth, goes full-on Aryan Super Saiyan, and then commits to the blonde hair for a while, and he locates and confronts Gary. Granule's all like, why did you do all the murder stuff? And Granule's all like, WTF, and Granule's like, not good enough, and totally annihilates Gary at a molecular level. There is nothing left. Then Granule somehow psychically learns that Gary's had accomplices to all of his evil deeds, to which Granule proceeds to hunt and execute all of them except two. You see, he desperately needs an answer to that why. It's really chafing his hide. But no one's been fast enough to answer him before Granule loses his patience and vaporizes them. One of the two guys spared was also too slow, and the other was forced to be an accomplice because Gary killed that guy's wife, and I don't know, I guess the cops were too busy asserting their authority elsewhere to help. So, Granule bestows some benevolence for once. He goinks the wife's soul from... And Granule mercy kills the guy. But don't worry, it's okay. He was already dying to begin with, so those two spirits reunite, and Granule's all satisfied by his good deed? However, on his way back home, he's suddenly snatched by some mysteriously powerful energy beam. Oh no! Okay, from here, we enter the final arc, so to speak. And since we know that Granule's a fan of JRPGs, we kind of get an indication of what this implies. It's time to go kill God now. And since we also know Granule's gotta be so extra, he can't just end God. No. That don't meet his standards. God's too much of a little bitch compared to Granule, and now I'm just gonna jump the gun here, it turns out God's been the one ordering aliens to try and kill him. Remember that important black rock in his head? That's like the source of Granule's entire being and his power, but it's a threat to God, so we can't have that. I gotta streamline this final arc here, because shit just gets peak nanners. Even drunk, I just could not. Okay, here we go. The Grim Reaper himself steps up to plate, having been the one to yoink Granule with that energy beam. But Granule, very quickly curb stomps, marbleizes, and then entrusts that marble to Julia, who he just fucking summoned, and she flies right on over. Dead dad be damned. It just happened yesterday, but be damned. So she is there only to babysit this death marble. That's it. Just, hey babe, here, look after this.
Okay.
Granule then performs some mitosis. So there are now 2 of them, 'cause 1 wasn't enough. Now we need 2. I'm shaking my head. Just trust me, I'm shaking my head right now. We learn that God's made up of 3 parts. So Granule and Granule 2, dubbed the body, split 2 each take 1. They go off to epic shonen manga defeat their respective god portions. Then Granule fights the last one, and then the body comes in clutch when the smidgest illusion of a struggle happens. 'Cause God forbid. The body whips out some self-righteous talk no jutsu to own the last god part. Granule psychically learns that the body evolved past the code of the universe and surpassed this universe's definition of godhood. However, because nothing can really be allowed to surpass Granule, the body imparts this knowledge onto him, thereby allowing Granule to evolve past godhood as well. Have y'all had enough? Well, we're not quite finished yet. We also learned that God, the cowardly little bitch that he was, also had a sister who was perfect by all measures imaginable. So perfect that God became insecure and jealous as fuck, so he rapes and kills his sister. 'Cause Granule doesn't so much as dip his tongue in that respects women juice, as if all of YouTube doesn't already fucking know this. So, Granule sends the body off to go take care of humanity and their silly little problems that still somehow exist, despite Granule supposedly fixing everything. But he can't be bothered with such minuscule issues far beneath him, you see. When Granule yeets the body on out of here, he phases through the fabric of space-time, and he scrolls through the code of the universe to also learn that this supreme deity named Cole created God and the sister, who has no name, by the way. And Cole made God because the sister, perfect creator that she was, wanted an equal because she was totally lonely. However, creating a deity it takes a lot out of you, and Cole couldn't let his perfect, beautiful, innocent daughter waste her life force to create a companion, so he does it for her. Or tries to, because unfortunately, Cole is a lame-ass boomer who, I assume, dozed off during a QuickTime event, fucked up, and whoops, God's flawed. And these flaws are the roots of God's evils and the evils within all of his creations, including us. Leave it to a boomer to fuck it up for everyone. This is so timely, so timely. Granule somehow finds Cole in this interdimensional throne room that is, surrounded by the sister-daughter's code that he has as a way to keep her memory with him and all that jazz. Cole's looking like a shriveled old corpse still mourning his loss. And then Granule's all like, I got you, fam. And then he uses the code on the wall to reform the sister-daughter, and then the 2 of them are like, whoa! And it's more bourbon and sunshine out the ass. God damn it. So, Granule then locates Julia, because he's like, good deed, time to go home. And pork my Twinkie. Granule then locates Julia and blips to where she is, which is in the bath. Like, she went from being in a towel to just being in the bath. Why bother with this nuisance called clothes in the first place? We all know how you're gonna be. Let's just cut out the middleman and get you naked. Julia tells Granule where she buried the death marble in her backyard, and the Granule's like, cool, and wills it out of existence, and now the concept of death no longer apply. There is no saving us now. Also, I feel the need to mention that I've cut out a lot of Granule and the body's self-righteous holier-than-thou malarkey. You may proceed to thank me in the comments. Okay, more nuggets of last-minute revelations, because this last arc is legit nothing but exposition and self-righteous bullshit. The sister-daughter assumes her role as HBIC of Earth, kicking the body out of that role that Granule placed him in some minutes ago, and she reforms the world to how she sees fit. I am not exaggerating. Quote, she didn't acknowledge opinions or cultures and simply rebuilt the world in a way she deemed fit. Whew. You could say she performed the ultimate ethnic cleansing. Way to go, Granule. You did that. She also forbade Granule from messing with her code, and he's just fine with that. Sister-daughter also gives Granule the location of Stickbug Planet. We gotta tie all our loose threads here, folks. So he and the body zoom on over, see that it's just pure darkness, and again also somehow learn that God manipulated and fear-mongered the Stickbugs too. Granule's ready to initiate Murder Spree 4.0. He was ready to genocide for the 4th time. But, luckily, the body's all like, hey, so, like, I know they served your ass all throughout your childhood with their fabulous sense of rhythm, but, like, how about you don't genocide? And Granule is all like, okay, fine. So he just fixes the Stickbug's code and makes shit all better for them. And he also nerfs their sweet, sweet moves. They will not beat him ever again. One last revelation tidbit. I swear this is gonna end soon. I promise. Don't OD on your candy corn just yet. Stay with me. So, turns out that the black rock in Granule's head is the creation of the sister-daughter, so that technically makes Granule her son, and he's angsty boy about it for a good paragraph. The body comforts Granule and then teases him for thinking his sister-daughter mother was hot, and then they return to Earth to resume their normal lives. Almost done. Let's bring this shit on home. Epilogue. Years later. Everything's fine. Granule's no longer getting served. He's probably finally going to impregnate Julia. I feel sorry for that future kid. And the body spends his days playing video games and racing vehicles in the amateur circuits. That's random as fuck, but good for the body. And Granule, the edgelord nihilist who rejected the idea of God at every twist and turn for no deeper reason than God is cruel, okay, smokes cigarette, has finally found a God he can devote himself to. Because she's the one true perfect deity who created his one true perfect ass, and only perfection is good enough for him. Praise be to the mother who will always be wiser than Granule. The fucking end. We survived! So, I hope anyone found some kind of joy in all that bullshit that I had to endure and then regurgitate with my verbal voice. Some tidbits had a good lull. I mean, I think it's kind of impressive to go from innocently swinging on a rope one day to then crushing the Christian ideal of God under the heel of his foot while embracing his own definition of perfect godhood in the span of less than 50,000 words. Like, that takes cojones. I unfortunately didn't prepare a proper closer because I got to the end, like I wrote the end of my script and I was just like, I kind of needed a minute to have an existential crisis in the corner. And only 5 minutes have passed. So here I am, just looking at it again and being like, oh man, this was 2020. Reaper's Creek is the culmination of 2020, going from innocence to batshittery in less than a blink of an eye, and yet somehow still surviving. So I hope that's an inspiration somehow to someone. You will look at bullshit, you will blink weirdly, an eldritch abomination will arise from behind you, but you'll still somehow survive it. In the end, you're still you. I'm gonna go take a nap and drink some water. I can't do any more alcohol. Oh, fuck. Y'all take care.
Why, hello there. So nice of you to drop by. If you'll please become utterly entranced by this crudely drawn hip swiveling, I'd like to deliver my ending spiel. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you see, and how can you not, look at these hips go. Please consider supporting me on my Patreon, where you can get 1 day early access to all upcoming videos, as well as the entire uncut audio of book reviews. You can hear me yap for almost double the amount of time. You can also vote for the next novel for me to suffer through, or enjoy. I'm at y'all's mercy after all. I can even draw sketches for you at child labor prices. Oh, I jest. Kinda. If you're unable to support me on a subscription basis via Patreon, and I totally understand, I also have a Ko-fi page tip jar for your instant generosity needs. You do you, boo. No judgment. Finally, a like and subscribe still goes a long way. I'm eternally grateful for any and all support. You may now peel your eyes away from this sexy, sexy penguin body. Remember to stay hydrated, friends, and take care.